Hey guys, it's Tahira, and today I'm doing my books I read in August video. So August was a very interesting month for me because I was moving into my first apartment. The beginning of August was spent like moving in and everything, and then starting my first job. So I had a lot of good things going on in my personal life, so I didn't actually get to as many books as I thought, but I'm going to be talking about 5 books today, and 2 of them are like pretty much on the shorter side. I'm going to be doing my stats for the month like I always do, but in the month of August I read a total of like 5 books. I read 1 fantasy romance, 1 thriller, and then 3 romance books, and the total came out to about 1,140 pages. So I had a mix of a lot of different genres, I guess more heavily on the romance side, but we're gonna go ahead and start with the first book. So the first book I finished in the month of August was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second book in the Powerless trilogy, I want to say. And this one does not have a cover because I was reading this starting in back home in California and I left a dust jacket there, so it's currently naked. But this one is the long-awaited sequel to Powerless, which is a fantasy romance novel that took everyone by storm. It became super popular last year, and I read it this year for the first time and I really enjoyed it. I ended up picking up Powerless like a couple months ago, right before the second book came out, and there was a bunch of hype for this book because this one was like a highly anticipated release. So when I got to Reckless, I kind of knew though what everyone's sort of feelings and thoughts were regarding this book because it had been already out for a few weeks, and so I already knew that there was a lot of mixed feelings going into it, so I kind of knew to like lower my expectations a little bit. I ended up giving this like a 3.5 stars, which is the same rating I honestly gave Powerless. Powerless definitely had more plot to it, which I enjoyed. This one absolutely had like basically no plot at all. There was nothing that really did anything to further the plot, and it was basically them just like the 2 main characters, Kai and Peyton, and kind of their relationship dynamic was at the very forefront of the story for majority of the book. And I think sometimes, or a lot of the time actually, I feel like that ended up like overtaking so much of the story. Like I feel like there were so many points where there definitely should have been some furthering of the plot to sort of build up for what the next book is gonna be, because like I know that the author said that this one is a little bit more of a breather book before the 3rd book comes out, because apparently there's like a bunch of shit that goes down there. But I feel like I wish there was a little bit more of anticipation and build up of more of the plot that we would be able to see in book 3. And we had a little bit of that towards the end, but I just wish we had a little bit more. The plot twist was also sort of guessable in my opinion, because there was very heavily like strong hints throughout the book leading to what the ending is going to be, so it was really not a surprise at all. And I had pretty much guessed it from the very first like hint I guess that was given to us, so that was definitely not like a huge shock for me. So I don't know, I guess that's a negative aspect to it. And also I don't really understand why that decision was made. Like it definitely throws a wrench into the plot, and it does like sort of bring in an interesting dynamic to what could happen in the 3rd book, and I am interested to how it's gonna play out. It's just like it kind of was confusing as to why that sort of happened and why some decisions were made and why some things happened the way they did. And overall I just didn't really understand why like whatever happened at the end, like why it really happened. I will be talking about spoilers now because I feel like I just have to talk about it, but basically I will put spoilers up for when the spoilers end. That text will disappear. But basically what happens is that we have our main characters Peyton and Kai, and Kai is like the enforcer, so he's sent out to kill all these like ordinary people, and his brother Kit is like the new king now because the old king like died. Peyton killed him, and Kit does this thing where he sends him out to like go get her, sends his brother Kai to go get Peyton, bring him back to him because he's like mad that Peyton killed his dad, of course. And so we sort of like see some parts of his perspective, and then in the very end he ends up ordering like Peyton to marry him and that she's going to be his bride. And after everything that we sort of saw where he wants her to basically we're not really sure if he wants to kill her, but he basically sent Kai to bring her back to him, like, and he said make sure she's alive. So like I don't really know if he had this plot like brewing already or like what the reasoning was. And his chapters, like we got some of his point of view, but his chapters were just so short that like I feel like we didn't really get into any of his like reasoning behind his decisions. And then sort of like what ties into like what I said before, there a lot of the scenes felt like, one, again, that they weren't furthering the plot, but also just felt like random scenes that would sort of like bring Kai and Peyton together and sort of strengthen their relationship, because it just didn't really feel like it was just sort of a cohesive storyline. It just kind of felt like random situations that were being put in that brought them like closer together. So I had a little bit of an issue with the way that basically the plot and story was being executed. It was not super smooth in my opinion. And then the only like thing I really liked was actually really liked their relationship. Like as much as like the plot wasn't really doing much, not much was happening with the plot, like I still enjoyed their relationship. I really like how down bad Kai is, to be honest, like as a man should be. And I liked like the building of their relationship. I just wish we had a little bit more, and that didn't take over like the entire story. Then the next book I read is completely different genre, which was thriller, and that is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This one is his newest thriller release. He is a really popular thriller author, and previously I had only read The Only One Left before this, so I had no really like exposure to his work or what his work's really like. But The Only One Left was really a blockbuster type book. It was very loud and very dramatic, and I really liked that. I really liked that book. I ended up giving it like 4 stars, and I really enjoyed my time reading it. I thought the plot twists were fun and the story was fun to follow. This one was a lot of a quieter story. If you don't know, this one is about this man, I don't remember his name, and it's about like how he moves back into this house that his parents had, and he basically, this guy, when he was very young, he was like camping with his friend Billy in like a tent in their backyard, and basically Billy was like taken in the middle of the night, and no one knows like what happened to him, or like the guy, the main character, I'm sorry, I have to search this up. Yeah, so his name is Ethan. So Ethan is the main character whose perspective that we're following, and then Billy is his friend. So basically they were camping together when they were really young. Billy was taken in the middle of the night. Billy is like long gone, no one knows where he went, and even Ethan doesn't know what happened to him. Like he was there when Billy was taken, but he has no memory of like who the person was that took Billy or what happened to him. And we see him sort of have like nightmares about this, but this or always end right before he can see like what happened to Billy and who took him. So he comes back and he starts seeing like signs of that Billy is back, and he's like freaked out and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And that's sort of where the story starts. But as I said, this is a lot of a quieter story. Not much is really happening. We sort of like in this small town neighborhood where like everyone kind of knows each other, and we're sort of following the perspective of Ethan as he's slowly trying to figure out what's going on. And it's not like big plot twist reveals, and like it was a kind of a whodunit story, but not in the grander way, I guess, that Only One Left did it in. And I really enjoyed Only One Left for that reason. I got a little bit bored in this book. The ending also just didn't hit after we had sort of been building up for the whole story. The ending was kind of like lackluster and anticlimactic in my opinion, which is why I ended up giving this book 2 stars. So overall, like it wasn't a terrible book. It was just kind of boring. Like I didn't really enjoy my time reading it. I didn't feel like picking it up. And in the end, like the ending just didn't hit for me, and it didn't get me. Or I mean, I get that probably wasn't the point. Like it probably wasn't the point for the book to like get me. But I feel like I like a good like almost, I don't know what other word to say, but blockbuster plot twist where it's like you're literally gasping and your jaw's on the floor and like you don't know what happened or like where it came from. I feel like I enjoyed those types of thrillers more, which is why I really like Frida McFadden. But this one was just definitely a little bit of a miss for me. Riley Sager is definitely an author though that I'm still interested in. I've heard a lot of good things about some of his other books, like his previous works, and I think they're a little bit of a different vibe as well. So hopefully I'll be able to pick one of those up and hopefully have a better experience. Then I read When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This one I read when I was doing a realistic week of reading in my life video. I'll link that down below. So I actually ended up reading Practice Makes Perfect before this, even though I think Practice Makes Perfect is technically second in the duology, or like they're interconnected standalones. But this one follows this woman named Amelia Rose, who is like an A-list celebrity singer. She's like a super famous pop star, kind of like the Taylor Swift of their world. Like, she doesn't replace Taylor Swift because it is a real world, but she's like on that level. She's like super famous, and one day she wants to try to she was trying to kind of get away from her like fame and life and everything, and her car ended up breaking down in front of Noah's house. Noah's our main character. He is a pie shop owner, and he is like basically a part of this small town, a really cute small town. I really love the vibe and atmosphere of that town. And she sort of ends up having to stay with him while her car is getting fixed, and so she kind of gets a taste of this small town life and sort of contemplates her entire life and like just reflecting on like what her life has been up until then. This one I ended up giving 3 stars. I did not like this as much as Practice Makes Perfect. Practice Makes Perfect, I just really liked their dynamic between the main characters, but this one is more of a grumpy sunshine, where the main character is the sunshine and the male main character is grumpy. And I don't know, I just feel like it wasn't hitting the same for me. I like their dynamic more in the end, but in the beginning it just felt like, I don't know, it just wasn't really resonating with me. And another thing that was a really big turnoff for me in this book is that whenever it would talk about fame, or Amelia would talk about her fame or her famous life or her celebrity life, it would like kind of make me cringe a little bit, because I don't know, it just feels weird to have someone talk about their fame like that. It was, I don't know, it just gave me the ick. So yeah, I feel like a 3-star book. I don't have much to say. I just didn't love it as much. Still enjoyed it. It wasn't like the best book ever, wasn't like the worst book ever, so it's just a very middle of the road book for me. Then we have 2 books that are in a video that hasn't come out yet, and that is my reading unhinged like romance books. I saw this Instagram post like talking about unhinged like romance books out there, and I had to read some of them. So these ones I won't be talking about that much, because I'll be talking about them more in that video that has not come out yet, which probably will like next week. The first one is Squeak by Vera Valentine, I want to say. This one is a balloon animal shifter romance, and it's quite interesting. Did I give it 1 star? Yes. All I'll say is that there is a very confusing world building, and it's a very creative concept, but absolutely not. Then the second book I read is one also for this video, and that is Seduced by a Pumpkin Spice Latte. So this one also 1 star. This one creative, but also in a bad way. The other one was creative in like a good way, sure. This one is creative in a bad way. And it's very short, and if you want to know what happens in this book, you're gonna have to watch that video, but it's a very disturbing concept. Anyways, those are all the books I read in August. Not that many, so this video is a lot shorter than most of my wrap-ups, but here's to hoping that September is a better reading month. I already am feeling like I'm more in the reading mood this month. I started my Throne of Glass rereads. I'm really excited to get into that this month. I am really enjoying I'm only on the first book, but I'm really enjoying my time reading that. And then I have a bunch of other books that I'm really excited to get to. I also want to do like a TBR cart, like TBR jar sort of situation, because I always thought those videos were really fun. And it kind of forces me to also read books on my physical TBR, which is, I feel like, something I need right now, because I'm at a point where it's like, this might seem like not a lot of books, but for me, this is a lot of unread books for me to have at one point. And so like, I'm at the point where I'm like almost overwhelmed at how many books I have on my physical TBR, and it's just making me not want to pick up any of them. So I feel like I need like a fun way to pick them, so I might do like a TBR jar or something like that later. Anyways, I feel the reading vibes coming on, and I'm excited to see all the books that I will read in the month of September. But that is it for this video. Let me know down below what is your favorite book that you read in the month of August, as of course I would love to know. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.